Tonight, fellas, building skyscrapers is the
Mm,
title. And our man here, Justin Smith, is from Oklahoma. He played junior college in Kansas and was drafted by the Twins in 1997 in the 43rd round. From there, he went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and was drafted by the Mets in 1998 in the 27th round. Went back to Alabama, played in the College World Series, was a Bear Bryant Student Athlete of the Year nominee, which is a big deal. Got his bachelor's degree in business, and then got drafted for the third time by the Seattle Mariners in the 10th round of the 1999 draft. During that time, he had a child who is a now 27-year-old daughter. He's got a beautiful wife and two young sons that live right down the road from me, Sam and Jack, and I love them dearly. And as I'm reading through your bio, Justin, like my heart is just in a place of you had so much going on off the field, everything so unexpected in your life as a college man, having a child, but yet you got drafted in the 43rd round and then the 27th round and the 10th round. So somehow, some way, you were going through all this stuff off the field that was unexpected and
mm,
chaotic, yet your resume says you continue to get better throughout that time on the baseball field. So
mm.
that's crazy to me because most guys don't do that. Most guys falter. Most guys have so much going on or are so burdened by their life experiences off the field that they let that impact their play on the field.
Mm.
So, first question is, how did you do that? And then my second question is, you only played 2 seasons of pro ball. How did your life off the field derail you from pursuing your dreams and actually making it to the show? So, kind of double-ended question there, but two
It's
things
good.
that stick out to me, and I just got to know.
That's good. Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for asking the questions. It's always good to be reminded of those things, reminded of that time, that season of life. Before we do that, I just want to say it's an honor to be here. Man, you guys sitting behind the camera in that room, and then the guys that are online. Um, you guys have a gift in Justin Byrd, and I'm a little bit ahead of him in age, but as we've started walking side by side together, it's become apparent that he really cares about the right things, and it's been good to watch, and I think been even better to get to see in person Friday mornings, kind of the raw, um, you know, talking and stuff like that. He mentioned accountability partners. Sometimes that can be like sometimes we want to maybe misconstrue that as like a sin manager, and that's not what it is. It's really just good friends getting together and talking, and we've got a few other guys, former pro guys that we sit with and talk, and it's really about transitioning from that into real life because everybody plays their last game. Everybody's got to deal with the difference between being applauded for doing your job versus just living an everyday life, like a huge percentage of the world does. And so, I just want to say, you guys, like I'm honored to be here. Justin, thank you. I love you, man. You and Caitlin are a blessing to me, and I'm overjoyed to be here. So, I
Thank you,
think your
brother.
first question was, how did I excel on the field? Um, those 3 years. There's a lot to the story inside of that. Um, you know, I think it's during that time, as a kid growing up in Western Oklahoma, I didn't have much. I didn't have the ability for people to see who I was, but I had a dream. I had a huge dream. Lay in bed at night, literally just kind of yearning for the opportunity to play in the big leagues, and just had that pulling me through. I wasn't the most talented guy. I fell in love with the work, and really honestly kind of hid in the work. I had a broken home. My parents divorced when I was 8. Stepdad came in the picture and worked all night. The guy was grumpy most of the time, and my mom, worked all the time as well, and just had a lot on their plates. And so for me, just to be able to hide in something, but baseball became that thing, and the work ethic part of it to me was a huge part of that. And so ended up getting 2 looks in high school, and they were both junior colleges. I went to one of them, and the first year, man, I had a scope on my elbow after the fall, and ended up having to sit out my spring year, and then summer went to Canada with my host family there. And so I didn't play. I came back in the fall of my second year fresh and just blew up. Added 4 miles an hour to my fastball, and I think I gained 20 pounds of muscle in that first year. And then coming back, and then I was playing outfield as well. And I think in the fall league, I hit like 423, not to be exact, but 423 with like 17 doubles and
No big
6
deal.
bombs. Nobody's counting, but everybody talks about pitching, but I loved hitting. I think that was the thing. And so I went to Alabama as a dual position player, but before I went to Alabama in that season, I will say that when I came back for my second year at college, it was different. I got to experience success, or just sort of this explosion of popularity at a quick time. And we didn't have the internet, guys. I'm aging myself, but this was in 97. We didn't have the internet. And so it was fall of 96, actually. And we had Baseball America. It was a magazine. I don't even know if they still have it, but
Remember, y'all know the magazine Baseball America?
I watched
No.
I watched my name climb the list on pitchers, left-handed pitchers, prospects. Um, you know, as soon as that thing came out, I was getting it and watched my name climb up. And it was crazy because I started getting calls from all these dream schools. I wanted to play D1. I wanted to play in the World Series. I wanted to play in the big leagues, but I wanted to play in the World Series first. That was kind of what I grew up, watching and loving and stuff. And um, so I got an opportunity to do that. But right around the time that happened, um, there was a pressure also that was mounting, sort of. And it's weird to get success and have that sort of mount up on your shoulders a little bit. And so, man, I started partying, kind of tried to become the life of the party, and started dating a few girls, and nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But what I started to do was I started to look to, physical relationship with women, and really young ladies at the time, college, and drinking alcohol to just kind of, ease the pressure, I think, if you will. And so that ended up being something that quickly caught up with me. Signed with Alabama in November, and was started dating a girl, and we ended up getting pretty serious. And then by January, found out she was pregnant. And, here I had just signed with Alabama, and then my spring season's about to start for draft eligibility, thinking about that as well. And guys, I went from having conversations in closed door rooms with scouts asking me how much it was going to take to draft me and all that stuff, to literally sitting on a recliner one night after a positive pregnancy test by myself, just literally trying to figure out how I was going to make it happen. Like, I'm going to quit college. I'm just going to go play for a pair of cleats or something and see if I can make it, because I wanted to do the right thing as a man or whatever. And so anyway,
It seemed like that was your only way out at the time, right?
it did. And as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, that was how I reasoned through it, I guess. And so that's kind of, that was that first couple of years. That was the year I got drafted in the 43rd round. That was all going on during my spring season. I had to carry that weight at the same time, played very well. But it was sort of a hiding place, I think, if you will. And so got married in June, moved to Alabama, and in August, had the baby in September, and then was a dad and a husband quickly.
Wow.
And taking 15 hours, 6 hours of mandatory study hall at the same time, and had a new baby in the house, and wasn't sleeping. But that was my fall at Alabama. That was my first fall. But I played two positions as well, and so that was like trying to take a sip from a fire hydrant as well. Division I, they do a lot of like coaching and crazy strategy stuff, and so you have these big meetings for each position, for position players and pitchers, and they just do a lot of strategy, or we did at Alabama. And eventually kind of got to a point where they decided to push me toward pitching. We lost a pitcher, and they pushed me toward pitching. And so the next spring, when I got drafted in the 27th round, I became Alabama's number one. As a left-handed pitcher, Friday night guy, and was projected to be drafted like first 4 rounds or something like that. Everybody talks to you and you hear the things you want to hear, but I slipped. I ended up leading the league, leading the SEC in innings pitched, and strikeouts were up as well. Went and played summer ball and was like 4-0 with like a 1.18 or something like that in the summer league in Kansas. And it is kind of like still just hanging on, but had these pressures going on at home. And so didn't get drafted like I wanted to. So we came back the second year to Alabama, still wanting to go to the World Series. We missed it in 98. We missed it by one game, got beat by Long Beach State and in the final game of our regional. And then the next year, start the season. And for the first time in my life, I think I had more losses than I had wins to start. And it was crushing. It was really crushing because I was supposed to be the number one guy. And like halfway through the season, I get hurt, and it ended up being a godsend because I was so just stressed out. I couldn't take it. And I got hurt, and I was out for 40 days, and I thought, man, there's no way I'm getting drafted. But I came back right at the end of the season, and I think I pitched. My first outing was in the SEC tournament against Mississippi State and did pretty well, and then pitched in the Super Regional against Southern Miss in a relief appearance and did very well. And then my next outing was Super Regional. It was like a regional and then Super Regional. I can't remember how they do it, but the one that goes to the World Series. We had a 3-game series against LSU. And the year before that, or 2 years before that, in 97, LSU played Alabama in the final game of the World Series, back when they just played one game. And so there was a big rivalry there. They came to Alabama because we were higher seat. And I ended up that week before the game, I got drafted in the 10th round, and it surprised the heck out of me, man. I was just like, how did they miss this? Like I have a bum arm. How'd they even miss that? So they missed it. I just like, praise God, man. I didn't even walking with God, but I was like, that's the words that came out of my mouth. It's just like, this is a miracle. So and then that week was just magical, man. I pitched against Kurt Ainsworth, the first rounder, and we beat him 13-5, I think. And I didn't give up 5 runs. I think I only gave up 2. So the relievers came in. Anyway, yeah. But it was beautiful. In the College World Series, pitched 2 games. I pitched the opening game of the 99 World Series against Oklahoma State. And I pitched six innings and got the win against those guys. And that was great because I was from Oklahoma, wanted to go there. And then 3 days later, pitched against Rice and had like the game of my life. Pitched 8 complete innings, struck out 12, and I gave up two jacks to the same guy. Damon Thames was his name, and he hit this Carlton Fisk type home run in the 8th inning off of the foul pole. And so anyway, it went back and forth after I got pulled in the 8th. Somebody else went out in the 9th. I got the no decision, but still, like 2 years ago, my name came up on the screen during the World Series as like an SEC pitcher with the most strikeouts. You guys remember the Mississippi State guy that just went crazy like 2 years ago and got like 17 Ks in a game. Yeah. So anyway, that whole thing, all that's going on, and then it's crazy, but like at the pinnacle of all that, life hit, and the next morning, I get a phone call in my hotel room in Omaha after winning, doing really well. And my grandma, who was my go-to person, had a massive heart attack that morning and died. And so I went from top to, this is like first experience with death as a person, 22 years old, didn't know how to process it, and get in the car with my then wife, and we drive to Oklahoma for funerals. And that's the last time I saw my Alabama teammates, a lot of them. Some of them I haven't seen them since. But after that, it started this journey. You asked, like, I only played 2 years in pro ball. After that, it started this journey of these things in my life that kept going away, that I was putting my weight on. I was like really putting my weight on my grandma when I would get stressed out, pitching against anybody in the SEC. The night before, I'd call her and at 3 a.m, couldn't sleep, that kind of a deal. And then I had elbow problems in pro ball and had 3 surgeries. I ended up having 2 surgeries on my elbow and then a random surgery for a hernia. And then when I got home from the surgeries, my wife told me she didn't want to be married anymore. And so I just like went through this Job-like experience at 24 years old. And that was in May of
Wow.
24. And man, through crazy circumstances, just like they always happen, this lady, my therapist, my hand therapist, was sitting across from me. My hand therapist was corrupt. She was like this beautiful little bombshell of a woman. I wasn't divorced yet, but she kept hitting on me, and it was very difficult. But she took a vacation, and the lady that filled in for her is named Laura Alexander. This beautiful redheaded lady that just was a beautiful soul, and she was making me cry, breaking scar tissue in my wrist, and absorbing my story. For the first time, I'd been around somebody that just absorbed my story, just heard me for what I was saying, and cared about the details. And then she invited me to church. I know it sounds cliche, but like, man, I grew up going to church, and so I was like, well, let's give it a shot. And so I tried to talk my wife at the time. She wasn't gone yet. I tried to talk her into going to church, and so I ended up we ended up going for a little bit, and then I ended up going by myself, marriage counseling by myself. And those people kept leading me back to Jesus, and I kept hearing the gospel over and over again about this God who's alive, who wants to talk to me and wants to walk me through situations and stuff. And from May to August, that was kind of my rhythm. And in August, just heard this message where, man, God literally spoke to me. It's the first time I'd ever heard his voice, and he spoke to me. And basically, just the games were over. I was kind of done playing games. And so, was in the middle of Tommy John rehab at the time. And so, just kind of had that experience in August with God. And then December, went through divorce. And then in January, it got so intense, my desire to follow God, and he was calling me out of baseball. I'm not saying that that's for anybody else, but for me, that was what he was doing. And it just felt so crazy. Here I was, I had everything at my fingertips.
Well,
And
I got to
yeah,
ask,
go
you
ahead.
say
Yeah,
that I'm just thinking about the life that you lived from 20 to 24, and a couple quotes. You said you got hurt and it was a godsend.
mm,
And it, it seems like, if I hear what you're saying, it's like all these things that were perceived as negative in your life from 19, 20, 21, 22,
yeah,
between, getting your girlfriend pregnant and getting injured, and, getting having to deal with your grandmother's death, and just so many things piled on a young man
yeah,
that most of us don't experience for many, many, many years in life. And the question that comes to my mind, one is, you said you didn't have faith at that time. Like, you knew of God, but you didn't know God.
correct.
And so was baseball your escape? Is that how you continue to get better on the field? Was baseball your outlet? Was baseball your God at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely into worshiping baseball. If you think about how much time was spent in it, how much of my heart was spent for it,
Yeah.
um, it's really a good way to put it as far as it being an idol. It was what I woke up thinking about. It's what I went to bed thinking about. But it was my drug, man. It really was. It was kind of
Yeah.
my escape. And I think what I learned is there were things going on in those seasons. And that's why we even talked about tonight, like being skyscrapers. I own a construction company now, so I know a little bit about construction. And the bigger that a building is going to be, like the taller ones in downtown and stuff like that, the deeper the piers are underneath them. And that
Yeah,
work
I
that's
hear that.
done
Can you repeat that? Write that
as
down, guys.
yeah, the taller that a building is going to go, and the heavier the structure is going to be, the more people it's going to carry, the deeper the piers have to be under that building. And what's crazy is when they build one of those buildings, it takes months of going down, of digging down, deep, deep, deep down. And it's hard work, and it's unseen work, and it's unapplauded work for that matter. And it's tons of man hours and tons of machinery and tons of concrete and steel and all those things that go into those holes. But they have a purpose. And if those aren't there, when the storm and pressures and atmospheric things hit that building, it's not going to hold up under the storms. And so I would say that, like, my interpretation now, looking back on it, was I didn't have that foundation. I didn't have the peers. And so in junior college, when I blew up and everything started going great, and I started getting flown around all over the country to all these visiting, like these visits, like it was a goal achieved, but there was pressure involved in it, and I went to other things to try to curb that pressure. Um, and so yeah, in baseball, a lot of times the work was what I would do to sort of get away from everything. There's nothing wrong with that, but what it did, it replaced me actually going and processing some of those very hard things that were going on in my life at the time. And the way I look at them now is God was doing something to deepen me in those moments. And I wasn't willing to let him show me the importance of that. And I wasn't willing to let him take me deeper, to grow me down so that he could build me up in the right way. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense, man. Guys, our heart for you here at the Futures Association is for you to establish a foundation in this place. This podcast is titled Foundation for Our Future.
Mm.
And everything Justin's speaking about right now is stuff that we want you to just take a nugget from, just something, just one thing. You don't have to take all of this in, but our hope is that you take one thing that contributes to the development of your foundation, so that when you're faced with trials or injuries or the death of a loved one or unforeseen things with your girlfriend, that you have a foundation to carry the load, and that you're not going to turn to other things, even if it's baseball as an idol, right?
Mm.
Baseball, whether it's alcohol, we all like condemn alcohol and drugs and whatever else. But the reality is, man, so many men in my life that have played at the highest levels have turned to baseball as their idol, as their
Yeah.
escape, as their drug. And it's so fleeting. And
Mm.
ultimately, they didn't have the foundation, and that career that at one time was glamorous and you're signing autographs and making money and flying on jets all over the country, it ultimately fades and it crumbles
Yeah.
because you didn't have that solid foundation that Justin's talking about.
It's good.
It's so precious, Justin.
Good.
Wow.
You got like 5 minutes for me
Yeah,
to do
yeah, we
something real
got
quick?
5 minutes, please.
Just
Yeah.
I want to talk about two guys real quick. So there's two guys in the Bible. They're both kings, and is a great example of this. Okay, they're King Saul and King David. King Saul, he it says they were both anointed by the same guy. So back in the day, whenever God wanted somebody to become the king, they would take this ram's horn of oil and they'd pour it on his head, and it happened at young ages. And so King Saul, this happened for him as a young man, and it said that he was given a new heart in one day. So that he had one day of preparation. So you think about me whenever I came into junior college, my second season, and immediately I become nationally known and just this ramp up of like popularity. One day, right? I was given this new thing in one day. But if you read on about Saul, he had a shallow foundation because there wasn't any deep growth that took place there. And over time, you know, after a couple of years, he ended up cratering under the pressure of being the king. And so that contrasted with the next guy, who was David, who was anointed by the same guy, and he was chosen at 17 years old, had the dream, and then spent the next 10 years of his life, like 10 years of human history, being shaped for the position that God had him for. And the way that he shaped him was to have a guy hunting him down to try to kill him. So the guy he was going to take his place hunted him down, tried to kill him. So he's on the run for 10 years. And you think, what kind of preparation is that, man? Shouldn't he be in big board meetings and all that stuff and like how to run the country and all those things? But the truth is, God had him running and living in caves and stuff because God wanted to do a new thing. And then over time, David was king for 40 years and ended up doing amazing things for the country of Israel. And and he could handle it. He went through some immense things as a king, but he could handle the pressure. And I just think, like, looking at my life, if I could say, like, there was something that happened to me at 24 where I shifted from this shallow foundation life to God had my attention, if you will. 24 or 25 years old. And guys, for me, it had a different path. And it took me a long time. I spent the next 10 years just really seeking after trying to figure out like what is going on with my life. I quit baseball. I got into some other things and got into ministry and got into teaching school and got into missionary work and construction, of course. And it took 10 years for me really to understand. But during that 10 years, I had some older, wiser guys come into my life and tell me that these things aren't because God's mad at you. It's because God's growing you and he wants to take you deeper. He wants to grow you down so that he can grow you up. And that's one thing that I would say too, is that if I could go back and talk to a younger me or talk to you guys, I have no idea what you guys face pressures wise. Um, I don't have Instagram because I'll sit there and look at the shorts for like an hour on the toilet, and it doesn't, like, my wife gets mad because I'm just AWOL. All right. And usually it ends up having some girl with a thong on or something like that too. So I have to get rid of it, guys. But I will say I have no idea what you guys are going through. I mean, number one, as far as baseball goes, you know, so much is seen online and stuff nowadays. But the one thing I would say is when God puts older, wiser guys in your life, I would encourage you to listen to them. I would also encourage you to find an older, wiser couple and look at their marriage and get close to them. Ask them, like, hey, how do you do this? Like, how do you function in marriage so well? And walk through that. I didn't have that when I was a kid. I didn't care. I didn't care about those things. I'm trying to like drum this up to just say, like, we need foundation. I'm not done with hard times. My building still gets rocked daily, and even more now, I'd say, than it did back then.
Constantly renovating, right? Constantly just
Yes, having to maintain and renovate. I mean, it's crazy. But I would just say that, like, there's people in my life now, and that's a big deal. There's people in my life now that I've submitted myself to. That's another bad word in America these days. But to submit myself to, where I just go to them and say, man, what should I do here? And I trust their advice and I go with them. They point me back to God all the time. And so, and then, you know, my wife is amazing, beautiful woman. And it's gotten to a point now where I can go to her and voice when I'm feeling a certain way, recognize my own feelings and voice to her. And then she will point me to truth. She will remind me who I am and remind me what I'm made to do and what I'm here for. And it helps get me through those times. And so I think takeaways is like, recognize that hard times don't mean you're doing something bad. It's just God wanting to take you deeper.
good. Y'all got
And
that?
then and then I would
One more
say,
time. Recognize.
recognize that tough times are not that you're doing something bad or that God's mad at you, but it's God trying to take you deeper, and you need to sit back and, like, you need to find a way to listen to that. And I'd say, instead of taking those tough times on yourself, you know, learn how to trust Jesus with that. Um, put your cares on him. It says that if you put your cares on him, if you call out to him, that he'll answer you, and he does. It's crazy. He did for me, and he does for me every day. And then I would say, when he puts older, wiser people in your life, take that advice, like, and then don't just take it and go somewhere, but like, try to find a way to spend regular time with these people. I mean, you can almost be annoyingly so. If Justin's that guy, I'm gonna mess your schedule up, man. But if Justin's that guy, man, be so present. I don't want you to be a nudge. I don't want you to be, sorry, I'm speaking Yiddish. My wife is Jewish. But I don't want you to be like a bug. I'm just saying, like, be present.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to be close, in earshot, so you can hear the things that are going on. You can watch him, watch his life, and live that. That'll set you up for when times come that are hard, and really when success comes too, because success sometimes is harder than failure.
Doubt about it, man. Justin, thank you so much for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
How cool is it, guys? Like, you might not understand right now. Risco probably gets a little bit more, but it's uncommon for us to see men in a vulnerable state in our culture. It's just uncommon, right? Whether we don't have that guy in our home, or we don't surround ourselves with that guy at school, we don't see our coaches being vulnerable all the time. But to see men being vulnerable who are just have done it at a high level and are continuing to strive for greatness, and just that vulnerability is so important, and it's a special thing. So thank you for being vulnerable tonight, Jeff.
Man, thanks for
Appreciate
having
your
me.
time.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, would you come here with me? This is a little uncharacteristic, but would y'all, just so you can see Justin's face, and come out from behind the camera for just a second? See if I can slide this back enough to squeeze everybody in. I just want to say thank you from all these guys here in the room. I know you're kind
Oh,
of
man.
camera. Can y'all squeeze in? maybe get a couple guys up front here. Come on, Chuck. Come on,
Man,
Jay.
some
Come on,
some of you
man.
guys, some of you guys are handsome.
See if
Some
I
of you, some of you.
tell you what. I don't need to be in this shot, so I'm gonna back out.
Wow.
I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna back it up. But
And thanks for doing this, Jay.
guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for being present. Thank you for listening, guys. Not everybody your age is doing this right now. It's for us to come in and hit and do the stuff that's fun and sexy and feels good. But this stuff right now is the stuff that's changing your life.
It's the goods, guys. It's the goods. Yeah.
It's laying that foundation so that when you all get an opportunity to go play college baseball or pursue whatever it is you're dreaming, you have the ability to grow and to do amazing things, knowing that that foundation has been built, or at least you started building it. So what a blessing. Thank you, Justin.
Hey, you guys do well this season.
Thank you.
Yeah, do well.
All right, Jay. Thank you so much, brother. I'm gonna come around real quick and close this out.
Sounds good.
I was kind of like angling that camera all crazy, so I hope you can see him. But
I did. I saw him. Man, it's
Bro.
such a gift.
JT Goggins, thank you for being on. Kingston Hewlett, I see you out there. T Jones, are you downstairs right now, T Jones? You are downstairs right now on your phone. I love that so much. Grant Byrd, first time. Welcome, Grant. So glad you're here. We hope you got some value out of that. Jeremiah, I love you, man. I know you're killing it. Grant, Jeremiah, Kingston, Trent, JT, our heart is that you guys get one nugget, right? Most of the times when it's just me, it's 10, 15 minutes, short and sweet. But when we have a guest like Justin Smith, who is just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, God just is working. And there's a reason he's here, and there's a reason he was pouring out his heart to us tonight and being vulnerable. So we hope you got some value out of that. And guys, don't be strangers. We're here, we're around. Come say what's up. If you have any questions that are pertaining to tonight and you want to get them to Justin, bring them to me. Send me a text or write me a note, and I'll make sure Justin gets them. All right, guys, we want to be thankful for him and his time. So appreciate you very much. And God bless you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
God bless you. Thank you, guys.
All right. See you.